A killer spirit is hunting a young family. Who bound it to the family and why? Don't miss out. The psychics will uncover the secret of the deadly love triangle. This is Psychic Investigations, a channel of true and impressive stories. Here, people who call themselves clairvoyants investigate resonant criminal cases and incredible mystical anomalies. 35-year-old Olesya Yakovenko and her husband, Hennady, asked the psychics for help because they are convinced that Olesya's deceased brother, Konstantin, is trying to kill their family, which includes two small children, Mikhailo and Darina.
We're all living in fear.
It all started when Olesya's brother was alive. One day, he visited his sister and said something utterly strange.
If I die, I'll take you with me. It really spooked me.
Then Konstantin went home, and the next morning he was found hanged.
I had a breakdown.
It remained a mystery to everyone why the man committed suicide. He never complained about his health. He had a wife and 3 wonderful children, and he was planning to build a new house.
Konstantin and I were very close, and we always supported and helped each other.
But the woman could not even imagine what her brother's terrible promise would turn into for them, because, after his funeral, the life of her family went downhill. Hennady recalls that the day after the funeral, he saw the deceased Konstantin in a dream.
He came to me, reaching out his hands. I woke up in a cold sweat, to be honest.
And when the man opened his eyes, he saw his wife, who was sleeping next to him, suddenly start to suffocate.
It felt like someone was blocking my windpipe, strangling me.
Frightened, Hennady began to wake Olesya and thus saved her life. The next day, while he was cutting firewood in his yard, he suddenly saw Konstantin's ghost nearby.
I clearly saw his silhouette. He looked just like when he was alive. I got really scared.
Incredibly, it was as if some invisible force knocked the electric saw out of Hennady's hands and threw it onto his foot.
It cut my foot like this. There was blood everywhere.
Then Olesya found herself on the brink of death. She was walking down to the basement to take preserves when she suddenly felt a powerful push in the back.
I fell and hit my head. I had really nasty hematomas here.
But the worst happened later. When the couple's son and daughter were playing in the room, a wall collapsed on them.
The piece of the tiled wall simply collapsed.
The father pushed his son and daughter away at the last moment.
If I'd been a moment late, I don't know how it would have ended.
Therefore, Olesya and Hennady wrote a letter to the psychics.
I really want them to arrive and help us.
The most experienced experts in mystical matters, Olena Kurilova and Rubina Tsibulska, took on the case.
I see a male silhouette, and he's standing behind Olesya. He's telling me, I will stop killing if you find the one who lay in my grave for 9 days.
The cards say, we can stop the death if the man who was burned bends his knees.
The following day, the psychics arrive at the Yakovenko's house in the small Ukrainian village.
Hello.
Come in, please.
Hello.
I beg you, please help us.
Olesya, I see a dead man behind you. He has dark hair and olive skin. His eyes are black. He's about 30 to 35 years old, and he has a noose around his neck. It was the same spirit that visited me before the investigation, and he's the one hunting this family.
My brother, Konstantin. What does he want?
If you have his photo, bring it, please. Look,
I was stunned. Outwardly, he looked like the same spirit I'd seen, but energetically, it was someone entirely different. Is this some kind of double, or what? We needed to summon Konstantin's spirit, and the best place to do this was where he took his own life.
Let's go.
Rubina, what's wrong?
Olena, I saw something where Hennady was standing. A dark mass, a huge mass, all covered in needles. They covered it completely.
Needles?
I don't understand what it is, but it's definitely not a spirit.
Konstantin hanged himself in the yard of this house. It used to belong to Olesya's grandmother, but now no one lives here.
We need to see that place.
But I sense some deed, energy emanating from somewhere else.
Olena Kurilova calls her colleague into the house. However, Rubina Tsibulska points towards the garden for some reason.
Did he do it here?
Yes.
The neighbors saw the dead man and immediately informed Konstantin's relatives.
Konstantin, come to us.
I see him boarding up the windows.
He saw something through the window, and it scared him.
He had this panicky fear and claimed someone was watching him, so he boarded up the windows. We even took him to see a psychiatrist.
No mental disorders were found in Konstantin, though. However, shortly before his suicide, Olesya's brother began telling everyone that he constantly saw a dark silhouette next to him.
Konstantin, tell me, what is that force next to you? I didn't call it. It came to me on its own, and it killed me. I don't want to take you to the other world. He says, I want you to live, and I don't want the same thing to happen to you, my dear sister.
My dear brother.
The same force that haunted Konstantin is now hunting your family. He's showing me a dead man, and I've already seen this man at your house. He has a noose around his neck, and he's holding something in his hands, like a postcard. And there's a coffin on the postcard.
Careful.
Bring water.
Careful, careful.
What's going on? The man can barely stand.
I felt a sudden pain in my heart. My legs started to give out.
At that moment, I saw the dark entity with needles next to Hennady again. But this black mass had nothing to do with the killer spirit and appeared near Olesya's husband for another reason. For the time being, I decided to focus on the dead man who haunted Olesya's family. I feel that he's attached to your family because of betrayed love.
Who's there?
The psychics hurried towards the source of the strange noise.
There's a man hanging from a tree. I felt necrotic energy from this place. Everyone get out of here.
He's your family.
Who's this?
My father.
Do you mean not only your brother but also your father hanged himself?
One evening, Olesya's father went out of the house where he lived with her mother, came here, and hanged himself.
Olesya's deceased father wasn't killing anyone. I saw his spirit near the house. The man was crying and saying something about his children. He strangled my children.
Besides Konstantin, Olesya buried two more brothers, Andrei and Mykola, and her sister, Tetiana. All three died young from respiratory diseases.
All the deaths were related to suffocation. It seemed like a family curse. It was as if someone had bound a merciless killer spirit to Olesya's family. The mirror is showing me the house where your entire family used to live. And it is filled with smoke.
Yes,
I see a woman. She's lying in this house.
that's Mom.
Did she suffocate too?
Yes. The wiring short-circuited. She suffocated from the smoke in the house.
Olesya's mother died 6 months before her father. That terrible night, he was at work. Their children were already living separately, so when the fire started, the woman was home alone, and there was no one to save her.
Tetiana, my late sister, found her.
I need to see the house.
It's not far from here.
This house has been abandoned ever since both parents died.
The same killer spirit caused the short circuit. He was holding a postcard with a coffin on it. In that coffin lay a young man, but energetically he was alive. I didn't understand what it meant at all.
A bird.
This is your mother's spirit. She's here. She's touching you with her hand.
I feel warmth. My dear mother.
Hush, hush, hush.
She's unwell. Bring water.
I see her face. She's looking at me.
I don't feel well either.
Let's get out of here. At that moment, I remembered that the killer spirit was destroying the family because of betrayed love. The mirror showed me a beautiful young blonde who looked a lot like Olesya, and then a letter appeared in the mirror. The mirror shows me the letter A. Is there a woman in your family whose name starts with an A?
My grandmother's name was Anna.
The man she loved broke her heart.
Grandpa abandoned her when she was pregnant. He's my maternal grandfather.
And I see that he sent her a postcard or photograph with a man in a coffin, but the man was alive.
He lay in a coffin and asked to photograph him.
This is unbelievable. To avoid marrying a pregnant woman, the man sent her a photo of himself in a coffin, pretending he was dead.
Look what he came up with.
He didn't come up with it alone. A woman helped him.
His mother. Was your grandfather a gypsy?
Yes, he came from a gypsy family.
His mother cast a curse on your family, your lineage. I see her perform a ritual, burying that photograph in the ground.
The gypsy woman buried the photo of her son in a fresh grave, thus binding a spirit to the photograph. I saw her return to the cemetery, digging up the photo, and sending it to Anna, who was demanding her son to marry her. But he had met another woman.
In gypsy magic, such a ritual is only performed on a relative's grave. That's why, when I described the killer spirit, Olesya thought it was Konstantin. The man looked exactly like her deceased brother, who was also a gypsy. He has dark hair and olive skin. That's him who's been haunting you. Apparently, the man in whose grave the photo was buried hanged himself. That's why we saw him with a noose around his neck. That gypsy woman cast a separation spell on your grandmother. But after the ritual, she didn't release the spirit. And so he keeps killing your family members one by one. But the gypsy woman protected her son, and the spirit didn't threaten him.
It was a real shock to me.
We needed to perform a ritual to seal the killer spirit. But then something incredible happened. I saw the strange entity covered in needles behind Hennady again. Two forces are hunting the man, the killer spirit and another worldly entity. We need to get away from here. Let's deal with one curse now. And then we'll work with Hennady. I performed an ancient Gypsy ritual. I sent the spirit that was destroying the woman's lineage back to the other world. And this mirror will be your talisman.
Thanks.
But what is the needle-covered entity that is trying to kill Olesya's husband?
Come over here. Look at this black smoke. The entity was next to Hennady.
Oh God.
It possessed him.
God.
Help him.
Water. The ground slipped from under my feet.
He fell as if someone shoved him.
Hennady, hold on. What was that? A love spell, Hennady. A love spell from a woman. A woman used magic to cast a love spell on Hennady. She summoned the otherworldly entity. It could kill the man.
What? I see you. You kiss a young woman. She's very young, just a young girl.
Did you have a mistress?
Yes.
Did you know about her?
I did.
Wait. She's Olesya's family.
My niece.
Anastasia.
Oh, God.
And she's also my daughter's godmother.
This is shocking. The man cheated on his wife with her niece, who is also the godmother of their daughter.
I raised her and cared for her like my own daughter, and she did this to me. I stayed alone with the kids. He left me.
I couldn't calm down. How could this be? Having an affair right under your wife's nose. But what shocked me the most was that Hennady got involved with the girl when she was only 14.
It just happened.
It was like he went insane.
From what I sensed, the attraction was mutual. The niece also liked Hennady, especially since he was only a few years older than her.
Hennady started living with Olesya when he was only 17. And a few years later, he began a secret affair with the woman's 14-year-old niece.
Did she cast the love spell on you? We need to see her immediately.
Let's go.
On the way to Anastasia's house, I had a strange vision. I saw a woman's hand holding needles, and with those needles, she was piercing Hennady's face in the photo. That's why the otherworldly entity was covered in needles. Hello.
Hello,
What's your name?
Natalia.
Anastasia.
Natalia is Anastasia's mother and Olesya's elder sister. After what happened, the women stopped communicating with each other.
Did Hennady and you have a relationship, Anastasia?
Yes, he's a grown man. Didn't he understand? Maybe I didn't have the sense back then.
I cared for you as my own daughter.
Yes, I'm guilty. If I could turn back time, I would change everything. I want to ask you to forgive me.
Why didn't you tell me this right away?
I was scared. I don't know.
Hennady, what's your role in this story? Where's your responsibility?
The man is silent, but did Anastasia cast a love spell on him, and the sinister entity is now trying to kill Hennady because of her?
I never cast any spells.
If the niece didn't cast the love spell on the man, then there was only one other option for who could have done it. Her hand did it.
I didn't do it. Don't say that.
I see this ritual. Hennady's photograph is burned after being pierced with needles, and then an incantation is read. This is how you summoned the otherworldly entity.
I found a photograph with wax from a candle dripped on it.
Did you go to see a sorceress to ask her how you could bring your husband back to the family?
I did. I told her I loved him and wanted him back.
Olesya and her brother's wife, indeed, went to see a sorceress. And the old woman taught her what to do.
She told her to burn his photograph at a crossroads, then take the ashes and throw them away somewhere.
Olesya says she couldn't even imagine what this would mean for her husband.
This whole situation is not my fault.
I'm not blaming you. You wanted to bring your husband back. And I understand you as a woman. But black magic is not a solution because evil always begets evil. To save Hennadi's life, we had to perform a reversal spell.
But the ritual will only work if Hennadi apologizes to his wife for everything he did.
I'm very guilty before you. Please forgive me.
Forgive me too. I only wanted you back.
I won't leave you anymore.
Rubina, seal it.
The entity is gone. Hennadi will no longer be in danger. I think everyone will understand now that there is no place for black magic in love.
If you're impressed by this story, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. Many more amazing investigations by our psychics are coming up.